welcome back to It's an Inside Job podcast. I'm your host, Jason Lim. Now, this podcast is dedicated to helping you to help yourself and others to become more mentally and emotionally resilient so you can be better at bouncing back from life's inevitable setbacks. Now, on It's an Inside Job, we decode the science and stories of resilience into practical advice, skills, and strategies that you can use to impact your life and those around you. Now, with that said, let's slip into the stream. Hey folks, welcome back to the show. It's an Inside Job. I'm your host, Jason Lim. This week, we are going to focus on a subject that we haven't touched on. We've kind of come close to the idea, but it's about career resilience and what that means. And there are kind of two aspects if we break it down black and white: career success, but career shame. And so today, I have an expert in the field where we will have a long-form discussion and dive deep into this subject, because at some point, we all feel success, but at some point in everyone's career, we may feel career shame. And that might be losing a job, not being hired for a position or getting that promotion, maybe even a demotion, getting laid off due to economic times. And so my guest today is Elaine Bloom. She's a distinguished social entrepreneur and career counselor deeply committed to fostering career health and sustainability. Her multifaceted approach, underpinned by her extensive academic background in neuroscience, career counseling, and pedagogy, is further enriched by the development of the FEMS model that emphasizes flow, engagement, meaning, and strength. This model showcases her dedication to nurturing personal and professional growth, resilience, and fulfillment in one's career path. In her professional capacity, Elaine utilizes a variety of platforms to share her insights and to provide guidance. Through workshops, her podcasts, articles, and her series on NRK Net TV, she equips individuals with the tools to navigate the complexities of career development, managing challenges, and leveraging opportunities for success. Now, her work is characterized by a holistic approach that not only aims at career advancement, but also at the cultivation of a meaningful and engaging work life. So without any further ado, folks, let's slip into the stream and meet Elaine Bloom. Good morning, Elaine.
Good morning, Jason. How are you?
I'm doing quite well. I was wondering if we could kick off the conversation, if you could please maybe introduce who you are and what you do.
I can give a quick run of who I am and what I do. So as you said, my name is Elaine Bloom. I turned 40 last year, and I'm very grateful for that. Been learning a lot of stuff and decided to let go of some of the strategies and the coping mechanisms I used in my 20s and 30s, and kind of let them be there. So 40 for me started out interesting. We'll get back to that later within the career and career resilience we're going to talk about. But I've always had a passion for people, careers, how we choose, and especially how our work and our lives, work life and private life, kind of affect each other. Mm-hmm. Because I've seen it, I've experienced it firsthand within my own family, and I've seen families been beaten up and broken. I've seen families disintegrate and become whole again. And work plays an enormous part in our lives. And we're all kind of bound into the discourse when you're born, your socioeconomic status, what your parents earn, where you live, how you look, what's your gender, who do you love, are you rich, are you poor, your neighborhood, and everything is so intertwined and interconnected. And we kind of talk about work and what we do like it's isolated from the rest of who we are. So I kind of started seeing some patterns, or I didn't have the language for that as I do now, but I started kind of connecting some dots when I was about 13. That kind of led me into, career counseling, health psychology, work psychology, neuroscience, and also obviously pedagogics, and me working with career and organizational and leadership development, kind of like on the trying to get into the insides and getting the insides to show on the outside, because there are a lot of surface stuff going on when we talk about work and health and career and choices and education, and the notion that career is something linear you're gonna climb something, climb a ladder, run. You gotta kind of start running because you're out of time. And we need to hit this mark and get this education and then get this job. And I think it's something about, to conclude my answer, it's something about the career and work narrative that does not sit well with me. So I kind of try to be, I would say, pioneer and a rebel, rattling the cage a bit, trying to create a paradigm shift. That's a big word, but within how we think and live and breathe within our career, work-life, family, and work-life balance as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first conversation I've had on this podcast about career resilience and just the idea of career, because as you said, I think you said it so eloquently, it takes up a large part of our lives. I mean, for those who go to university or college or study a trade, that becomes a large part of our identity. We identify as the profession or the career that we take. But sometimes along the way, at least I experience as, working as a sparring partner, we can sometimes lose ourselves in the career. And as I think also you said, another salient point is that sometimes, at least younger people can sometimes see that. And at some point, we were young in that sense. You can see it as a linear, just go up stages. But I think it can be completely compared to success. I mean, success is not a straight line. We all know this, who've experienced it. We've all taken our hits. We've all been, knocked to our knees, and we've had to get up, brush ourselves up, and try to move forward again and again and again. And slowly we climb to whatever success as we define it. And so this is part because I think also it's very important, though, not just to go out to younger people as they start their professional lives, however that is, but I think it's also for a lot of people because of technologies, because of AI, because of machine learning, because of how industries are shifting. The idea of retooling and reskilling becomes more part of the landscape, the ecosystem that we have to talk about. And if you're 50 plus, maybe, and of course, that's not an easy shift to make. That's something we have to also talk about. And career resilience, I think, always will come back to that mental resilience, that robustness, that tenacity or fortitude to take the next step if you have to, if you must, or if you want to.
And I think, to speak to your point there, the discourse of work, career, work used to be, at least, let's say here in Norway, on the Scandinavian speaking country, because if you obviously the United States or some other countries are way different, because here in Norway we have the welfare, you get paid maternity leave. If you lose your job, I used to work closely with the NAV, the welfare system. So if you lost your job, you could get up to 2 years of pay. If you attended career courses, you got all the help you needed to pay your electric bills. So when we talk about careers and the career resilience, there's also kind of a cultural thing here, and also a nationality, depending on where. Obviously, some of my friends in the United States, they give birth and they go back to work after 2 weeks. And here you can stay home a year if you want to, so more or less. So there's something about the equality there. But if I speak to your point within this Scandinavian kind of framework, that is also applicable. One of the things I see, and in Norwegian we say "Hva skal du bli?" So what do you want to become? That's kind of the question we ask our kids. And hva vil du bli, or what do you want to become in Norwegian? That kind of means so what would you like to do when you grow up? But in Norwegian it kind of sounds like your worth is placed on the career or the education you choose, or you want to be a cop. Oh, good for you. You want to be a magician. People go like, but you can't be a magician, are you crazy? No, you want to do arts. Oh my God, it's not secure, it's not safe. So to speak to your point, work, at least here, used to be about we need money because we need money to buy food, and we still need money, but still something has happened. There is a shift, because now, for me, the valuta, also how we kind of placed what was important, used to be money, and it's
the
still
currency,
of course, the currency. But for me now, the new currency is actually meaning. We're pursuing meaning, chasing meaning, hunting down meaning. Our work desk has become our altar where we place everything. And So we work, and a lot of people, they are workaholics and they work and work. And that's also a form of, at least from my perspective, working with, burned out, stress, workaholics, a form of addiction, a form of numbing. But we also kind of get rewarded for self-betrayal. We get rewarded for running. So to speak to your point about career resilience, either you're 50 or 30 or just kind of going into the workplace or making transitions, kind of just going like, okay, so where do I actually place my worth? Is it within all the hours I kind of, ching ching, chime the bell and look at me? Or is it because I have no limitations? Where is my value placed? And where do we place our value on young children in order to where what kind of they choose to talk about when they want to choose a career? So I never ask my son, what do you want to become? Because he is already whole. He is all he needs to be. I ask him, so what do you like to do? What are your interests? And now it's piratesmanship. He's a pirate. Okay, so what kind of skills do you need as a pirate? Well, you have to be brave. So tell me, how are we brave? So we have those kind of talks, and those talks are also transferable if you're 30 or 50. But I think this is an inside job, Jason, and that's kind of the holy grail that it seems like we're kind of missing, because the answers are out there. If I just get that job, get that education, get that car, the wife, the house, whatever, and we're still kind of empty. So where do you place your value? And also, whose kind of narrative is playing out? Whose kind of, thoughts and concepts about career and work and meaning and purpose, are they yours? Are they someone else's? Because when I talk to people and do, career health development and leadership, and I usually I seldom get to talk to the one I actually need to talk to, because a lot of people just send out their avatar. So they send their avatar to work, making the decisions, and kind of the rest of me, I stay at home because it's safe. I don't want to be vulnerable. I don't want to, I just want to send my avatar. And I also need to be seen, so I keep running. So my boss praises me for all my accolades and all the things, but I still can't show up as my whole self. So this is quite important also, and I've been working a lot with Plus 50 for many, many years. We had an oil crisis here in 2012. So I've been working with a lot of people lost a job there, and, been working with people from 16 to about 75, 80 different nationalities for many, many years. And there are some similar threads, Jason, like, am I enough? Do people like me? Do I actually know what I think I know? Where do I fit in? What do I actually want? So those questions kind of just keep coming up.
And I think those questions do come up because, when we get hit, when we get knocked back, when we lose our job, when we get demoted, or whatever happens to us, these are natural tendencies, because obviously, we have this 50,000-year-old wetware in our heads called the brain, and with its archaic programming saying we need to be part of a tribe. If I lose my status in that tribe, that means what do I bring? Will I get banished? To some extent, I'm very, very black and white here, but it is. We start questioning our self-worth. We start being self-critical. We start seeding ourselves with self-doubt. And this is not because you're broken. This is what we all do. But the question is, that's what the brain does. It has a negativity bias. We've spoken ad nauseum on this podcast about the negativity bias. But for those who don't know, it's the programming of the brain where it's constantly searching in the environments for dangerous threats to your life and limb. And it does it for a good thing, to protect you. But when we lose our status, such as a job, or we get a hit in our career, well, this negativity bias kicks in, and this narrative plays in our head. And this narrative can unfortunately tear us down. It can completely rip our self-esteem and gut our self-confidence. And unless we have professionals such as yourself to help to maybe redefine that narrative, to look at it on more factual, not just all these assumptions that we have, right? Am I actually of worth? You are. And maybe the cut that was made was not because of you, but it was because of some spreadsheet. And as demeaning as that feels, And then of course the conversations become a lot more complicated. But I think what you're saying at the end of the day, to follow the purpose and passion is very important, and not just to chase the paycheck. I mean, we've been hearing this conversation for a long time, but I think it becomes even more and more relevant. And for those coming into the game, young people, maybe that's what it is. I think to some extent, Elaine, a lot of what you say really resonates with me, because when you talk about this, and the people I work with, I work from 5 to 7% with people who've unfortunately hit the wall, highly educated men and women. And I kind of consider myself fortunate, because my dad told me, like, I grew up in so my mom's British, Caucasian, my dad's Chinese. And so I had this East-West sort of mix in my house of philosophies and values. My dad said to me, he said 3 things. He says, Jason, follow what you love doing. Follow what you're good at. And most important, follow or deliver on what people are willing to pay for. And those three waypoints created a sort of a triad for me to constantly figure out where I want to go. And it kind of focused, and that same philosophy that my dad shared with me, it's the same conversations I have with my kids today. Mm-hmm. And I openly admit it. That's what I also use as waypoints for my conversations with clients.
No, I think this is so important, because obviously there's Danish philosopher Søren Kierkegaard, and he said life has to be lived forward, but kind of understood backwards. So usually when I work with, say plus 30, 40, 50, because I work at university as well with young students, with a master's degree in biochemistry, and they're like, can you look at my CV? They're not actually asking me to look at their CV. They're asking me to say, you're okay. You are a worth. Yes, there's room for you in the workplace. But to speak to your point, one of the interesting things, I was 13, and my father lost his job at the time, and no one told me. Something happened in the household, a dynamic shift, okay? Mm-hmm. So I had my elbows on the table one supper, we were eating dinner, and it was like, get your elbows off the table. And I was like, whoa. So the dynamic changed, but in my household, I love my parents. God bless them, they're alive. My father's 86, my mother's 76. But my parents, we did not talk about the important things. They just kind of, to build a bridge to why we're talking about this and why this is important for me, because I never learned how to talk about my feelings. Mm-hmm. I learned how to live from my head and be pragmatic and systematic and logic. But I have a lot of feelings, and I'm warm, and I'm curious and empathetic, but I kind of it's hard to explain, because I've been doing a lot of interesting work on myself, trying to understand how I do what I do. And so my father, when he lost his job, I met him kind of in our hallway during the night. There was some kind of rummaging, and he was on his way out, and he woke me, and I was like, where are you going? And he said, go back to bed. And I said, well, I'm a rebel, so I'll just get dressed, and are you leaving, Mom? What's going on? And Jason, I can remember his kind of yellow bonnet or kind of hat on top of his head, mustard colored scarf, big, empty, sad brown eyes. He was about 59 at the time. In Norway, November, it was cold, and he has this book under his arm, and it's like 12 or 1 in it. And I'm like, where are you going? And he said, I lost my job 2 months ago. We haven't told you. I'm delivering the newspapers during the night. And we had an old Datsun 79 model blue, no belt in the back seat. And he took that car, went to collect the newspaper, and ran up and down all the blocks and the flats and the stairs, and he came back. And to speak to your point about the career decisions and resilience, the amount, and I get chills when I say it, the amount of career shame, which is kind of a phrase I've coined because I've seen so much career shame. drove him to when he came home. Do you know what he did? He showered, ate, and then he pretended to go out to work with the rest of the world. Because, as you said, if we do not do what we're supposed to do, part of the tribe, go to work, earn our money, pay our taxes, kind of be the man of the house at that time. We're talking in 1997 or something like that. And my mother, she was working. She earned a good deal of money, but, the feeling, the shame, he could never ever put it into words. So he just pretended to go to work, and he pretended to be somewhere, and he came back at 4 o'clock.
That also speaks to, the sort of the male mentality. And I don't think it's wrong. I mean, there's always been this, at least when I've grown up, and I still see it, it's just, the guy, and the way we've been indoctrinated, the way we've been taught is to provide for the family. And I think it goes beyond than just sort of what we're taught. Honestly, I think it's part of our sort of our mental makeup as males per se. And obviously females feel the same sense. When they lose their job, they feel a sense of career shame. But it's not I think, like your father, he stepped up. He is a proud man. And it wasn't the pride it doesn't sound like he just wanted to deliver for his daughter and his wife, and he wanted to provide, right?
And because he also, to understand people's career paths, you also have to look at attachment theory from deep psychology, and also where people come from. He's born in 1938. He's kind of a boy of the war. When the Blitz came to London, they just woke him up at 3 o'clock in the night, put everything you have in a pillowcase, get on the train, and he had to move miles and miles away and live with a nervous wreck that was called Mrs. White for a whole year without his parents. His father died. He started sailing, went to sea when he was 13. It was either that or being a criminal. And he's been on his own ever since. So I don't think anyone's actually kind of, really loved him or really guided him. He has a completely different life than mine. And I remember being like 11, and I said, why don't we have, I'm from a working class. My mother's a farmer's daughter. And I was like, why don't we have a cabin there? Why don't we have this and this and this and this? And it was like, have you ever imagined not having a roof over your head, not having anything to eat, not having and I was like, no. And it was like, you see this scar on my, and kind of, so he started telling me stuff. And so when I look at my father's shame and pride, I also have to look at his he wasn't securely attached. He was probably anxious, ambivalent, disorganized, all of the, patterns that kind of keeps you blocked from being vulnerable. So telling was an act of vulnerability, and we didn't do that in my family. I kind of had to learn it. Although it's always been in me. But the point is, he started then working at the municipal government from 1973, and also then becoming a security guard by night. So he had 3 jobs. And unfortunately, he had to kind of pensionere. He had to...
he had to retire.
Retired at 67, but I started my company a bit later. So he's now doing, he's the member of the board. He's doing economics because he managed to have 2 years and doing some economics, and he was really good at that. So the point is, we think we have all these free choices, from neuroscience as well. Like, free will. But I mean, come on, how is our decision-making process based? How are we not feeling ashamed or feeling confident or secure? Everything is interconnected. And I think this is the most interesting part of looking at how we choose our careers and what kind of shapes our careers, because that was a pivotal moment for me, deciding at 13. When I went to bed, I was like, okay, I will help people who lost their jobs. I will start my own company so no one can find me. I will become a manager or a leader and help people and make them feel safe and always take care. And I was like, and when I was 30, I was like, check. Been running my company for 13 years. I have 2 companies. ElaineBloom.no and careerhealth.no, have a big career podcast, been working as a leader for many, many years, developing and pioneering career services, developed the first integrated career services for people at university, students at University of Oslo. But none of this would have come to me unless kind of some of the moments in my past had shown up. And I think I did a study of people 50 plus who lost their job. And they traveled 20 to 50 minutes to another grocery shop, the grocery shop near them, so they would not meet their neighbors saying, "Oh, how are you doing? How are you going? What's up?" Because they did not want to tell people they've lost their jobs. They turned down the lights, pretended like my father to go to work, and the amount of shame. And I think here's one of the things, Jason, we talk about society. We're so open. Come on, everyone's sharing everything on LinkedIn. But we're not. We're still judgy. We're still like, "You're not working? Why are you working out? You're on sick leave? Oh, you're weak." There's something ingrained, like bigger, stronger, faster. Come on, more, more, more. So I think when being faced with adversity or kind of being forced to stop, all the big existential questions pertaining work to life, career, they kind of show up. And that's why for many years, I was like, okay, we talk about mental health, as you said, the robustness. We have to, bounce back. We have to be strong, develop skills. And I was like, why is nobody talking about career health? Why is nobody talking about that? Everyone from we're born till the day we die, we have a career health. Because when you talk to my father, the male kind of providing, it's also about identity. And that's kind of not something you throw out the window and you create it. It's deep embedded, as you say. So at the core kind of the career health model that I created, or the framework, is like, who do you become when you go to work, and what do you allow your work to become? How do you allow your organization, your culture, your colleagues, how do you allow them to see you? How do you show up? Because organizations also have a career health, as do individuals. And it's kind of the intersection between the individuals and the organization's career health that makes for a sustainable, psychological, safe work environment.
So
Because
let me ask you then,
yeah.
just so we can operationally define for the listeners, what do you mean by career health? Maybe you can define that a little more.
Yeah. So as an example was how we when we go to work, obviously we have our physical health, we have our emotional health, we have. But I think, at least for me, the way we've been viewing career work, it's quite one-dimensional. So when I work kind of from a holistic approach, where we have to see the whole human being, kind of the whole human is also going to work, and people go like, I have some trouble at home, but I just leave it at home and I go to work and I'm all jittery, and I'm like, yeah, but it seeps out. So I created this framework that I call in Norwegian FEMSS, but it also actually converts into English beautifully. So the career health framework is about 5 dimensions. It's how to assess your career health and understand your career health along 5 dimensions. The first one is the physical. So, and every dimension has 5 categories. So I'll just give you an example. So the physical has rest, nutrition, surroundings, energy, just to name some. And then you have the emotional dimension, also have 5 categories. And then you have the mental dimension, and you have the spiritual dimension. And a lot of people in Norway, they laugh and go like, "Ooh, are we going to sit in the woods and hold hands and sing kumbaya?" That's actually about meaning, values, belonging, authenticity. And then you have the S, the social compartment. They say I am included, but I feel alone. I was like, we're talking about diversity, but is there any diversity? So I created this framework in order to assess and understand your career health, because people come to me and say, I don't like my job, I want to quit, or my team is so crazy, and then there's so much going on. And we seldom talk about the things we need to talk about. So with this framework, you can actually go in and assess what is going on. So, as a Likert scale, if you do personality test, you go, I like having control from 1 to 5, and you go like 3. So what you do with this framework, you actually assess your career health. So you go, okay, so from 1 to 5, 5 being like great, how do I kind of rest? And not fake resting, because I meet a lot of people, they're on the couch, they're relaxing, but their mind is at work, so their body's pumping cortisol, adrenaline, just
Physically, they're
Yes.
not at work, but mentally, they're in that
Yes.
space. Mm.
So we're assessing, and we see probably how do you kind of put up boundaries, and you probably see one there, and work is meaningful, probably four, and kind of you start to summarize, of course, look at the scores, and you go like, and I would say, can you see any patterns or anything going on here between the social dimension and the physical dimension? And they go like, okay, I put one, I don't rest very well. And I'm kind of pulling back from my call. Ooh, but look at this one. I put zero on boundaries. I just keep saying yes and yes and yes. And that's why I can't rest, because I'm occupied about how people perceive me, my imposter syndrome, what they think. That means I can't fully show up at work. So, oh my God, I'm put two at authenticity, but my work has meaning. So you kind of get to look at kind of, because there are 25 reference points, and you kind of get to see, oh, it's about this one. And this one makes it difficult for me to rest. And when I can't rest, I pull back. When I pull back, I experience stress. Ooh. And then, so career health is, so the overarching kind of thought is, how can we create a sustainable work life together? So if I take care of my career health and understand what I need, and here's the point, almost everyone I've been working with for the last 15 years, they go like this, Jason. What's wrong with me? Why am I tired? Why can't I do this? Why am I overstimulated? Why do I not feel at ease? Why can't I feel my purpose? What's going on with me? What's wrong with me? And I say, well, look at the culture, look at the framework you're in, look at what's going on with your organization's career health.
You know, what I really like about this career health framework, as you said, you have 25 points to help market. And, you know, from my background, I think it's really good because it's an exercise of self-awareness. You know, people have to kind of check in with themselves at an emotional level of these 25 different points, and they have to put an objective number on a subjective feeling. That allows them to assess more and less where they are on some things. Where some emotions, they feel I'm in the zone, other things are kind of off kilter. I think just that idea of putting an objective number on a subjective feeling based on these five frameworks of the physical, the emotional, the mental, the spiritual, and the social, spiritual being values and purpose and such, I think it's very, very important because once they get the results, I think that also allows them to show a little more self-compassion. Instead of self-critical, why am I broken? Why am I this or that? You look at it, you think, okay, maybe show some self-compassion. And by doing that, and what I also hear you saying, Elaine, this career health framework, it allows them to also pinpoint where they can direct their efforts and energy. And in English, we call that self-efficacy. Self-efficacy meaning, what are the actions I can take to do this? And so when we find that we can do something about us that we've just discovered through this framework of yours, well, that leads to more. It doesn't boost our confidence, but it slowly rebuilds the confidence. So I just wanted to kind of put my little bow on what you've said.
Perfect. And I also think this is the point, because I want to change my job, and I go like, so we really need to decipher what you want to move away from and what you want to move to. And people go, no, I don't like my boss. Okay, well, let's have an assessment. And you can see, well, okay, it's my job, jobbtrygghet in Norwegian, kind of, I'm working
Job
on
security, yeah.
Job security. I'm not quite sure. So kind of you have your job security jotted down for 1, and then you see your stress levels going 5, and you don't eat properly. If you look at the physical and you kind of your surroundings, maybe you have a crazy commute to work. So if you look at the crazy commute to work, it has a hectic schedule because of your kids. You have trouble kind of getting in the right nutrition, and you feel insecure, and you go like, okay, so when you looked at the framework and all your scores, and what are the patterns, between the spiritual, the social, how is everything interconnected, and what do we really have to address? Okay, I need to talk to my boss because I cannot handle this job insecurity. So the commute is actually not that crazy because I get to rest. And okay, can I actually reframe the commute? Yes, I can, but it's difficult because I have this job insecurity pressuring me. And so you kind of, okay, so oh yeah, so my contract will be prolonged. I had that talk. Now I can rest in the commute, because usually the things we're talking about that bothering us, they are not the things that are bothering us. So that's kind of the core of the career health framework, because people come, I'm so stressed, I don't know what to do. And I go like, so you're scared? And they go like, no, 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 I'm stressed out. But we can talk about stress up here, but we are not, you're sending me your avatar. Show me your insides. We're not talking about stress, we're talking about fear. So when I talk to people, I hear words, but I seldom pay attention to the words. It's everything that's going on the inside, kind of getting that to show up on the outside. And they found that 90% of people in some sectors, especially health, went to work although they were sick. And there were three things that kind of showed up from the work psychology. Number one, sanction pressure, fear of sanctions. You're afraid of being seen as weak, or fear of missing out. Maybe your project will be passed on to someone else because you're not there. And number two, the moral pressure. You think, I'm not sick enough. I kind of, I have a bit of COVID, or I'm not that ill. I'll show up. I feel guilty, so I'll just log in, although, I'm home, but I'm not home. And the third is feeling of indispensability. So, do not have enough people. I have to go. So what happens is, the sick leave, or the Norway is one of the top countries in sykefravær or sick leave, and it's costing loads of money. But also in Norwegian, the sykenærvær, why we go to work when you should stay at home, is equal amount. And that also kind of in the long run is called presentism. It also leads to higher costs, because, you're a bit sick, you go to work. You're a bit sick and suddenly you're in there for, you're off duty for the long run. And I started to wonder, like, why do we self-betray? I mean, compromising, okay, Jason, we'll do a bit of this and a bit of that. But it just seems like society, and this is just my take, kind of rewards us for self-betraying, rewards us for running and panting and, driving ourselves to the ground. And I was like, when did that happen?
In part one, Elaine discusses the intricate relationship between personal identity and profession, probing into the motives behind work, be it for financial compensation, career progression, or seeking meaning. She delves into career resilience, distinguishing between career health and the often overlooked concept of career shame. And career shame, well, it stems from a negative self-perception and societal pressures. Elaine introduces a comprehensive model for career health based on 5 dimensions: the physical, the emotional, the mental, the spiritual, which encompasses values and meaning, and the social. She advocates for a holistic approach to enhance self-awareness and to be able to pinpoint areas requiring self-compassion and proactive efforts. This way, the clients can focus on what they can control, where the challenge really lies, and the ways to remedy or to mitigate those challenges and to address them directly. Furthermore, she addresses the stress and the pressures fueled by fears of inadequacy, the moral dilemma of constant availability, and a sense of indispensability, offering insights into navigating these challenges. So now let's slip back into the stream for my second part of my conversation with Elaine Bloom, where we discuss and elaborate on career resilience, career shame, and career success.
And I did a show when I turned 35. I just booked a big theater here and called it Unedited by Bloom. And I did some quasi research asking people,
Okay.
when do you edit out yourself, and when kind of can your full self show up? And there was a full, theater, 500 people. I just ran my show, a bit of stand-up, a bit of humor, but also a bit of like, so why can't we show up as ourselves, although we think society is like, ooh, open and everything? And I'll tell you something personal. I have a son, and last year, about 1.5 years ago, it's not a divorce because we were not married, but we broke up. We lived together, have a son together, and we decided to go our separate ways. And working and talking about career health, career resilience, going through a breakup, having a child with all the crazy complex feelings, I'll tell you, Jason, I've never felt more complex pain and sorrow in my whole life. I was feeling like my heart was going to stop working. And we have a 50-50 split, and we work really well together. Father of my son is great dad, lives 10 minutes away. But a pain of being a mother without her child, showing up to work, I mean, woo, what parts do I edit out and what parts do I bring? And I remember being in this big meeting at university talking about something completely useless. I can't describe to you how little that matters for anyone. And everybody knows because we're having a meeting, because we have the meeting and go to the emotion, but there's nothing to talk about. And it's like, and I was sitting there and I just wanted to cry. I wanted to stand up and say, like, what am I doing with my time? And I decided, well, I'll just send my kind of avatar. I'll send my representative to this meeting, because this is not a place, because I was in doing a project. So they were kind of not my friends, not my close colleagues. I do not want to show my whole self to these people. So I think it's also, when I talk about showing up and being your whole self, you also have to be kind of quite aware who deserves your story, who can hold your story, what you tell your boss or not, kind of what repercussions does it have. So I was kind of simultaneously creating and developing career health, taking care of my own career health. And I was talking about this in my podcast, because my podcast is about, the career health and life itself. And I actually got some messages saying, and this gives me chills, like, your podcast literally saved my life. Because I've been sharing snippets, because when I have the microphone and I'm just completely honest. Yeah, going back to the point of your father, doing what you love and just, doing it not for the sake of earning money. I have no sponsorship on my podcast. I just enjoy sharing. And I do not know who gets to hear it or who it kind of gets to it, but I don't care. It's just out in the ether, finding what it needs to find. So this is going back to career resilience, being able to kind of stop and just feel your feelings, because that is insanely difficult. It's much more easier to numb with a podcast, maybe a good thing, or Netflix, or working out, or eating, or shopping, or whatever we do, just. And ancient wisdom has known this for, thousands. And you're talking about Eastern, Western philosophy, being still, what's the next right step? And I think talking about career resilience, people go like, oh my God, there's so much and I have to change everything. It's just, what do I need? What do I need? And I think there's a difference between what do I need and kind of what do I long for. And I usually say to the people I work with when we kind of get deep, so what's going on? And they go like, oh, I just want everything to stop. Please, I just want my work to stop for a moment. I just want to breathe. I just want a sailor, a voluntary punctuation between, it's a space between words, between music, between action. Just make it all stop. But people, I don't mean to generalize, but kind of getting off the carousel. What happens if you do? What happens if you don't? You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. So it's all these dilemmas. You should stay at home, but you go to work. And I also wrote in quite an interesting article saying, when proximity to work create distance in our close relationships. Have you ever been with your family, friends, partner, whatever, but your mind, as we said, it's at work.
Yeah, I've been there, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
you're never present. And that's also, dipping in or tapping into the career health, all of these kind of deep, sweaty, difficult, kind of crazy things that aren't so crazy, but we're so scared, Jason, of facing or meeting ourselves. And we're so good at breaking all the promises we create. I'm going to breathe. I'm going to drink water. I'm going to say no. I'm going to do this. And I did a big radio show where I had a career program, and I was talking to this amazing interns. She said, I would like to set a boundary, but if I set a boundary, I'll be more preoccupied with setting the boundary, thinking about what the person I set the boundary thinks about, and then I'll be crazy all evening thinking about what she thinks about the boundary. So it's just best to say yes. I was like, so, the inside job and the mind talk, how I would like to ask you, Jason, how have you tamed, or have you ever tapped into or just felt like your mind was untamed at times, just kind of running wild? And how have you kind of got back or tamed it, or kind of built your career resilience? Because obviously there's been no straight line for you either, talking about vulnerability
No
and
straight
career
line, no.
resilience.
It's more
Yeah.
like a bouncing ball in a small room. It just ding, 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 ding off all six surfaces. But
Yeah.
of course, I mean, I'm over. Sometimes I'm hit with overthinking or negative thinking or self-critical thoughts or rumination. But I think what's important, and maybe I've had the advantage of having an education and working in this field for 25 years, but I always come back to the emotions. The emotions I've always dictated, and again, this is something I've talked ad nauseum on this podcast about, but emotions are just chemical messengers from my physiology to my psychology. And that's what I tell myself. And I also tell myself that it's just my brain doing its thing. It's a message. And so basically, I see emotions as neither negative nor positive. I see it as comfortable or uncomfortable, but it's communicating something. And so, what I will do, so I am not caught up in the narrative of the emotion and then I go down those rabbit holes, I will catch myself. And I have different ways of catching myself. And over 25 years, it's just become a habit. And I can feel the physiological response in me.
Mm.
So, when I feel that, I literally, as you said, I pause, because at that point, I'm mentally probably off the rails. I'm derailed. And if I'm trying to drive my train, I'm not going anywhere because my wheels are not on the tracks. So I have to stop and I reflect. And I literally think to myself, what is the emotion I'm feeling? I'm not just saying stress or anger, because I know those are secondary responses. So I look for a primary response. If it's fear, then I try to identify the fear or the anxiety or whatever it is. And then I'll ask, well, why is my emotion communicating this to me? And through that revelation, through that self-awareness, I kind of calm down. I start reflecting. And I realize these are just physiological responses, and they're the filters in which I see the world. But once I address it, things start calming down. Maybe I'll go for a walk or I'll go for a run to burn out the cortisol and the adrenaline, to clear those hormones so they're not polluting my thinking.
Mm.
And I think from there, I find a sense of stability. But then I start asking myself questions based on what are the facts? What do I control? What am I certain about? Where can I invest my effort and my actions? Yes, I'm worried. I focus on the outcome. I mean, that gives me direction, orientation. But I need to figure out the efforts I can put in now. Because if I get lost in the outcome, when I'm going to get my new job, when I'm going to get the new client, then I'm going down the rabbit hole, because outcomes can be influenced by so many variables. And a lot of those variables we can't even see coming, that can be knocked off kilter, right? So but the thing I can control is always the effort. It's always the mind talk. It's always addressing my emotions.
Mm.
And it's sometimes admitting that my brain will lie to me. Sometimes the emotions I'm feeling is based on misinformation, right? And if I can assess that and I look at if it's misinformation, then I'm thinking, okay, there's no point in making a decision based on faulty data. Go out and collect. And that's why I ask those other questions. Now, it doesn't put me into a positive mindset, because I might be in a shitty situation.
Yeah.
But what it does, it puts me into a constructive, pragmatic
Yes.
mindset, and allows me to grind to get through what I got to get through, right? I have to go through the storm, even though I don't want to go through the storm.
Yes, and I think this is speaking kind of to your point of the Dante's Inferno as well. Sometimes you kind of got to go through the crazy havoc parts. And I think that's one of the problems now, speaking to your point about this in career health, where we're surface reading, we're surface interacting, we're swiping and pressing and doodling and chat GPTing, and not to say the technology is great, so we're not going into that, but it's also, we get synopsis of a book in like 1 second and we kind of think we know the whole book. So one of my most cherished values is depths in relationships, in reading, in understanding myself, and it has cost me blood, sweat, and tears. Talking to your point about going inwards, and I kind of the memo or the memo we get is like, stay happy, be positive. I never want my son to just be happy. I want my son to understand his feelings in his body, feel his feelings, sit with his feelings. I'll sit with him, and it will pass. And I think this is so important to also speak to the point earlier about, attachment theory, and kind of, as you said, with the neuroscience, also tapping into the brain, but also our nervous system, kind of scanning for fears, our social nervous system, like what's going on and how we show up. Because when I talk about people kind of sending their avatar, and how I at some point also sent my avatar, because I do not want to get hurt, I do not want to open up, I do not want to be vulnerable, because I do not know the repercussions. We have these primary and secondary feelings, right, from the emotional research. Like most of us, we are meeting up, showing up with our kind of secondary emotions. So our primary emotion is, Jason, I talk to you and I feel fear. Okay, you're my boss and you're going to ask me if I've done my job, and I feel fear because I have an imposter syndrome. I don't think I'm enough and I'm getting tired. So you come in and you say, and I go like, quit nagging. I'm doing, I meet you with anger. So my primary kind of feeling is fear of not being enough, probably shame, not knowing how to do the task and not knowing how to ask for help. But I'll show you my secondary feeling, aggression, or being cold. And you go like, so what's going on? I'm like, nothing, just let me be. Obviously, I wouldn't talk to my boss that way, but this is kind of how we communicate in close relationships. So this is when career health is just not about work, it's about the transferability to all walks of life, to the kindergarten, our partners, kind of how we affect each other, how we can use language to elicit, oxytocin that makes us feel close, and we need each other, and we elicit empathy. Or I can say to you as my employee, like, so, okay, I don't think you have all the skills, Jason. So let's see if you can do this task, have it done by Friday. I'm kind of, with my words, injecting something. I'm mixing something in your drink that kind of creates your cortisol production, maybe fight, flight, freeze. You want to run away, adrenaline. So just imagine how we show up using our words, how we mix our own cocktails, just to speak to your point about your own mind talk and how you tame it, and kind of what do you as a manager or leader or as a parent or mix in the cocktails you kind of serve the people around you. Because what I see is a lot of emotional discharge going on, with everything that's going on in society. We're more anxious, we're more afraid, and kind of we do not kind of know how to get rid of all our stuff. You said you were running, and so we just kind of dump our emotional stuff or discharge on other people, and we seldom meet kind of the primarily emotions, but you always, at least sometimes at work, if there's not kind of a safe environment, you meet the secondary needs. So we interact upon the secondary needs, we create teams, we deliver, and people go like, but I don't feel that my leader sees me. I'm not appreciated. And I say, well, what do you want to be appreciated? Yeah, well, my efforts. But what about your efforts? Is it your avatar sending your efforts, or are you actually bringing your whole self to work? So how, and this is one of the most interesting questions when I travel the career health tour and do talks, I say to people, do you like who you become at the workplace or in the workplace? And you know what happens? 300 or 400 people, they kind of start giggling. And I know, when people do the nervous giggle, a lot of people, Jason, do not like who they become in the workplace. And I said, so who do you become when you meet kind of your manager, your colleagues, your tasks? Who do you become within the framework of the culture? And how do you let your organization also see you? That's kind of the baseline of the career health. Because, yeah, but my manager, he don't get, but have you used your words to communicate what's going on? No, but how is someone supposed to get you? Or have you, no, but it's too difficult. But what is your role? And I think there's a lot of pointing outwards, but always kind of come back to, so with a breakup, it's nobody's fault, but what was my role in that breakup? Like I had last year. It was like, oh, I kind of checked out of the relationship before I knew I checked out. So I kind of oh yeah, so it wasn't his fault. So what was my kind of role in not
Mm.
being too close to my colleagues that you okay, I didn't show up fully because I didn't want to, but why? Because I was so I think with the mind talk, one of the most important things I heard you say was the mind and the talking and kind of the feelings. We're so good at talking and the minding and the speaking, but
Mm.
we're not that good at doing the feeling and also showing kind of our insides on the outsides. And we're not supposed to just blah,
Mm.
gulp and spew everything up, but kind of who am I in this context? And do I like who I become? And if not, what's going on? What's my mind chatting about? But usually there's sometimes a discrepancy between the feelings and the things we do. So I'll just go ahead and run myself,
Mm.
stressed.
What I think is important here is to, when people feel career shame, they've lost their job and they do actions such as they drive an extra 20 minutes to go grocery shopping. So they're not going to run into people they know. I just want people to know that this is a normal reaction. Career shame, because it's an identity quake. I mean, as we talked at the top of this conversation, a lot of our identity is wrapped up in that. And so to have that shame is a natural product of losing one's position, status, their sense of value, their sense of contribution. And there's no one broken because of this. But what it means, though, it's what I also hear what you're saying, Elaine, is when it came to your split with your significant other at that point, is that you had to have self-awareness. You had to take ownership. You had to look at your responsibility in this game. And maybe you were acting in a way that you weren't aware of, per se, or what the drivers were. But I think that takes a level of vulnerability to yourself, but also a level of courage to face that vulnerability, to have that self-awareness. A lot of people, and this is no comment on themselves, some point they haven't reached that level where they can face their vulnerability because they're so wrapped up in their identity, which is completely understandable, that they go along with that narrative that goes along with that identity until at some point they hit some trigger point where they're thinking, I can't continue this. And then they have to do a little more of the deep work. They can't keep kidding themselves. But I think for a time, that's also a normal reaction. We kid ourselves and we kid ourselves and we kid ourselves.
The coping mechanism, Jason, because, as we know from Gabo and Mate's work in kind of infancy and we're born with two needs, the need to belong and the need to be authentic. And in order to receive love, we can, alter parts of ourselves. We become quiet, we stop crying, or at least we don't cry that much. We do not ask what we need. We learn kind of to read the environment and our parents and what do I need to do to feel loved? Do I need to run and be successful? Do I need to get it, look pretty? And I think this also kind of follows us, of course, into our adulthood. And I think there's a lot of people abandoning themselves, like I need to belong. And Brené Brown also, of course, talks about it, kind of belonging and fitting in. And I think we've some of us have forgotten how to belong to ourselves, so we kind of belong to everyone else. And I think one of the most interesting things here when we talk about career shame and kind of starting anew and career resilience, one of the worst feelings is just feeling so completely alone. And I felt alone in my breakup. I felt alone in my career decision because people say go right, and I've just went left. I quit an amazing job as a manager, a leader, responsible for 300 people, 22 leaders, because there was something about the ethical, there was something that just kind of kept gnawing at me. So just my job, and I traveled the world. 2016 started Project Bloom. I've been working like in slums in the Dominican Republic. I've been to South Africa, Brazil. I've been working in places where like career, as a definitional career, doesn't exist. People just kind of murder people to get money because they need to eat. That's not it. It's just what you do. And I think this is interesting, the feeling of being alone and how many of us, to speak to myself as well, with the breakup, or we're more connected than ever, Jason, but we're never felt more alone. We come home, we lock ourselves into houses, our kind of bird cages, and we, wink to our neighbor and we do some activities, but we're like, shit. What do I do? Why am I frustrated? Does anyone else feel this going through a breakup? Is there heartbreaking? Am I enough? Should I change jobs? Am I too old? Why can't I just fit in? Am I included? Why do I have this skin color? Oh my God, why was I born here? Why don't my parents love me? All the questions. And I think what I've seen in the last 15 years, also working with career development and career guidance, to just utter feeling of being alone. Being alone with the shame, with the, I do not know how to write a CV. I do not know how to create an application. I do not know how to, people say, just go and network. How do you network? Where do you start? Do you ask for help? Do you kind of raise your hand? And I say to people, if you want a new job, people need to know that you actually exist. So where do you start? And it's overwhelming. And I think to speak to the point of transitioning, like William Bridges has a great model kind of to make it easy for the list. It is an easy model, kind of what you need to let go of in the first phase, because it's not kind of the you lost your job, you're burned out, you're starting a new relationship, or you've lost whatever you had. Kind of, he says the first stage is letting go of status, of money, of identity, letting go of everything. But we usually kind of skip that stage because it's a bit painful. So we just move into, the limbo. You're between the old and the new. And here there is no room for, the big visions and the dreams, kind of realistic, small steps. And staying in the limbo lands quietly and slowly, you kind of move into the third phase, the new beginning, like a new vision. You've reorganized, you've re-identified, there's hope, there's optimism. And I actually did some research on people who lost a job, asking them. They had 2 hours of career counseling, and I said, and I designed this qualitative study. 73% was like, I don't feel I've had any help. I was like, well, but you had 2 hours of career counseling. And using the transition model to William Bridges, I discovered that the career counselor was like, woohoo, come on, let's go. See me, you know so much. You're so strong. You got this. Look at what you've been doing. Woo.
More like cheerleading.
Yeah. And they were not able, because they were at the new beginning, right? It's their job. They're optimistic. Come on. But the participants said, I just wanted someone to hold space for me in the first phase, asking me like, what do I need to let go of? My identity, my status, my money, someone missing me at work. And also in a relationship, you have to let go of the sorrow of the past or the future family you could have had. I'm speaking to myself now. And kind of, shit, there's a lot of things I have to let go. And in order to let go, I actually have to, as you said, walk through it. And so also when COVID happened, it's like, oh, this amazing change, this crazy change, everyone. But actually, change propels that into psychological and emotional states. So what are we letting go of? What are we kind of diving into that's in the between the liminal phase? And when are we ready to move? And we also alter between all the states and all the phases. I still do kind of, I haven't let go. And sometimes I have let go. And I talked to a woman because she was so bitter and so frustrated. She was about 53. And I said, can I just ask you, what kind of pain or sorrow are you carrying? And she was like, and she just lost it. So for 3 years, she's been sent to career course, CV, application, but no one's actually. So you've been working a place for 20 years and you were downsized. It was kind of her life. No, it was just, let's move on. We're so quick, Jason, to kind of move on. Next train, next stop, next person, next swipe.
I think that speaks to what you said about taking a pause. I've been doing what I do for quite some years, and it's interesting. When you were speaking to the loneliness, there was a lot of kind of things that came to my head. And when, there's complete 100% confidentiality with my clients, of course, right? And I can work across teams and such. And one of the things I sometimes say, like one of the things that you said, what really resonated with me is just that first phase. Sometimes it's just to have someone there who listens. Sometimes I don't say anything in our 15-minute session, and they will speak and they will speak. And they said, I'm sorry, I'm all over the place. I said, you're not all over the place. You're speaking your thoughts out loud. And what's really interesting is that they can't change the situation. But what happens after the conversations, they've changed their perspective. And in a few cases, they say, you know, Jason, I just feel I'm standing alone. And I'll just say something like, I got your back, I got your six. And just saying that sometimes triggers an emotional response in them. It might be deep breathing. Sometimes they cry. Sometimes there's just a few tears, but it's almost a sense of relief that someone has listened to them, allowed them to speak their thoughts without judging or sending them solutions or have you tried this? Have you tried that? Giving them advice and just saying, you know what? I got your six. I got your back. You know, that's why we're here. And I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Here's your homework. And you know what? Nothing significantly has changed out here. But what has changed is that mind talk. It's the narrative. They've become much more self aware, self compassion about how they deal with things. And sometimes that's where you got to start. You just start with the fundamentals. And they're not, it doesn't cost a lot of money, it doesn't cost a lot of effort. But what it does, you have to take ownership, as you said, Elaine. You have to take responsibility. And maybe you have to be a little vulnerable and find that courage to deal with the identity that may be serving against you and not serving you as it once did.
Yeah, and I think I just kind of got chills when you were talking because one of the things I kind of see now doing this for many years as well, you know, I do mental training, I do a lot of lectures, I meet a lot of people. It's always about the listening. And people are so scared of speaking out loud because they're scared that someone's trying to fix me. Like I said with my son, I just want to take his pain away. Don't feel it. What happens when he grows up? He's going to feel those feelings. So I'm actually, bestowing him a gift, like, okay, I'll hold space. And I think that's one of the things I had to learn about 22, 23 years ago, kind of like, why am I living from my head? What's going on? Why do I have the urge to fix people? And so when I went through my breakup, people were like, oh God, you're so not lucky, but you get to spend the whole week without your son working out, working, reading, having fun. And I was like, okay, you're not listening. There very few people were able to kind of hold space, like, oh, that sounds hard. I'm here. Just talk it out. Or if you lost your job or you're going through a hard time at home, probably have a sick child and you have to go to work and there's a lot of pressure. And I think we're afraid of speaking because there are these easy fixes because we want to fix each other because we haven't learned how, to sail now to how to kind of, the voluntary punctuation and go, man, Jason, that sounds wild. I don't know how you cope and just sit in the silence because we have to fill the air, music. We just have to fill things because, oh, please do not make me feel and think like. And that's one of the most interesting things. I had a client, and she said, I just need to talk. And I was like, okay. I felt bad kind of charging. She talked for 4 hours. We had a double session, then a pause for a week and double session. All she did was talk. We sat on the floor. I sat next to her on the floor. We had our backs against the wall. No fancy office. She just looked straight ahead. I like sitting shoulder to shoulder, like instead and we're in each other's kind of gaze. And she just talked through her life. And sometimes I stopped and was like, is there a connection between this and your childhood and the way you showed up in work? And she's like, yeah. And that kind of led into new rambling, but it's not rambling. And I think the part we're speaking of now is so deeply human. Why can't anyone see me for me? Why can't my colleagues understand me? Why doesn't anyone see my pain or my struggles or my insecurity? Because I think if we speak out loud, we're afraid of being vulnerable, being weak, but also people kind of throwing quick fixes at us. And what's interesting when one of my semi-friends kind of, how are you doing? And I said, well, I'm having a bit of a hard time, but coping, but trying to balance everything. And she said, this will pass. And you know what has happened, Jason? I'm not resentful, but I haven't told her because there's no point. the relationship with her has changed for me. She doesn't know that. I still meet up, but I send my avatar. I will not send my insides to her outsides because there's just no holding space. There's only trying to fix. So at some point, and this is also, transferable to work, I'll show up with my insights and tell her kind of what I need, because this is also important, speaking to this point, being able to say, Jason, I just want to tell you something and I just really need you to listen. Or Jason, I really need to share something and I need some cold, hard, no bullshit advice. Or Jason, I just need someone kind of to throw a ball back and forth because I'm kind of stuck. Being able to articulate your needs for a particular conversation is also taking ownership, right? Instead of becoming annoyed. So I'm not annoyed at her. It's just kind of a symbol of what I'm trying to say with a story. So I'll show up at some point, but not now. But I think, we just want to fix each other. We do not want to hold each other's pain. And I have a colleague who lost both his parents within 8 months, came back to work, and we have a deep connection. So kind of we hold space. But one of our colleagues was like, hey, welcome back. Cool. Did you see the football game? I was like, yeah. Nobody asked. So tell us, how are you doing? Because we do not know if we should enter that space. We do not know kind of what recoils, what comes out of it. And I don't think we're not quite sure if we are resilient enough to kind of hold that. So we go like, oh, that's sad, he's crying. Okay, well, yeah. And I think that has to do with the more our insides are on the outside, I think the more we can also hold space for all the stuff that comes up around us and kind of be, calm and like, okay, I hear you. I'm here. Nothing to do, nothing to fix. So what you said was so giving someone the gift of just being able to share and not fixing. That's we need.
I think that's important, and it's also to give flexibility to a lot of people, because a lot of people don't know how to handle very tough emotions, such as your colleague who lost two parents. It's like, there's so much uncertainty around it. I think all their intentions are well meant. It's like, okay, do I want to? Because if they say something, is it going to bring up the pain for them again, or how do I react if they cry? Or a lot of people don't know how to handle these kind of conversations and such. And so you can understand the reluctance between sometimes engaging. And so that's why I think it's very important that where you have psychological safety to some level, where a manager can have that, or there's an HR. Well, maybe not HR, but some degree, if there is some sort of relationship that particular colleague has at work, or maybe it is to bring in, a third type of professional who sits out of the organization, where there is no one they have no relationship, so it's a little easier to talk about things. And so it's also to sometimes understand and to give flexibility to, a lot of people don't, okay, I don't know how to handle this. What do I say? Or how are they going to react? Or I don't want to trigger something in them. It's all well meant, I think, for a lot of people. But I agree.
But it's also holding empathy for yourself, not being able to handle it, but also noticing. We are, apropos a mind talk, the inside job, we spend so much of our time living in other people's minds. Like, what would he say if I ask him? Or what do you do, Jason, if I do this? So what would they think? So kind of we take the bus to work and we have our conflict with our colleague in our mind, spending an hour hashing out the conflict, being back and forth, being both your colleague, and kind of you get all, irritated, and you run into work, you kind of open the door, go like, let's talk this out, and I'll take you down. And your colleague's like,
take you down. Yeah.
Hi. So example, we kind of wind ourselves up as well, from the mental training, the visualization, and just being mindful of when we spend time in other people's minds and hashing out their thoughts, their reactions. And one of the things I see, a lot of women especially, they take over responsibility for other people's feelings and thoughts. And the other one, they don't know, they haven't asked of it. So you don't go to work because you think, you go to work although you're sick because you think there's too much to do for your colleague. It's not over a responsibility, but you don't know. And you don't ask about how has it been since your parents died, because you think you're going to trigger something and make them sad. And the interesting thing is, my colleague said, I just wished someone would look me in the eyes and say, good to see you.
Mm.
Great that you're back. What, do you need anything? Just, but I think, of course, I understand. And, that, oh my God, what are we triggering? How do I handle this? If he cries, what if my boss, I want the pay raise and I go and discuss it and they say no, what do I do? And you said this early on, kind of to come full circle, like what can we control and what do we have to let go? I think that's one of the most important things to kind of start working on as well. And it's also a part of, the career health framework as we go through the assessment. So can you actually control your commute? Okay. Can you ask for more home office if the commute's kind of your surroundings are driving you crazy? Or can you choose to put up a boundary, or can you choose to show up as being more authentic? No, it's impossible. Okay, so if that's impossible for the moment, can you see if there's anything else kind of going on? And like, oh, everyone sits eating lunch, but I just feel so alone. So I think in order to develop career resilience, not just at 50 plus or 30 plus or changing jobs or changing education or climbing or achieving, I think Amy Wisniewski and colleagues from interesting research, they talked about a job, a career, or a calling. Like a job is something you do from 8 to 4. Do not interfere with my amazing private life. I have my kids and the football and the poker, and I don't care. I just need my money. And then kind of you have the career where you like to probably take an education, maybe advance, climb the ladder. What I've been thinking is, sometimes people just need to step out of their careers and go get a job, because what are you actually offering or trading your time for? Your stress, you're not being present, you're not resting. Is it worth it? And some people who kind of feel a little bit meaninglessness in just their work, maybe they should go get a career. And sometimes we also, have the calling, as we both, I feel we're kind of tapping into our calling now, having this conversation. There's no framework, there's no script we're following. We're just kind of talking about life on a deeper level, hoping that your listeners will probably have one new thought, one new reflection, probably feel a feeling, not going ahead and changing or fixing, but kind of just integrating something and kind of, just, yeah, having their moment of sale and just kind of, what did he just say there? Okay, I have to stop. And I think just knowing the whole concept of career, because here in Norway, the career in Norwegian, it's defined as løpebane. It's like running in circles.
Yeah, it's running track. Yeah.
Running track. And all of the students I work with from 18, to 40 now at university and all of that, like career, it's something, way ahead of me. It's something, it's the mountain I have to climb. It's stress, pressure. It's the real life. I don't want to talk about it. No. But the thing is, everyone's career has already begun from the kind of moment we're born, because of the biosocial or psychosocial kind of holistic
The
framework
ecosystem they grow up in, right?
we're all a part of. So there's no escaping it. And I think just trying to start to decipher, what does career actually mean for me? What does the word job mean? What is meaning? And I don't think meaning is something you kind of go hunting for. I think meaning is something you find as you try. Okay, I like this podcast thing. I'll try it some more. I don't like that. Why? So asking the open-ended questions, and also, Jason, starting to kind of listen to yourself. I think that's from that point you will build an incredible career resilience. Okay, so you may lose your job, and this is not kind of like, oh, it doesn't matter because you're just listening inwards. No, 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 no. But it's a way of kind of building resilience and kind of showing up for yourself every day, so you actually can also show up in the world, instead of showing up into the world, abandoning yourself and just feeling empty and lonely. Although we're so connected, and I think kind of influencing ourselves more as well, and that's hard.
No, I think that's very well said. I think everyone is going to get hit in their career, the position, their job, whatever you want to call it, at some point. There's going to be a shift that they have to make. It may be only a couple of degrees, or it may be a complete 180. Who knows? And I think with your deep experience and knowledge, obviously you are one sort of conduit people can go to kind of sort through this. Because again, as we've talked throughout this conversation, career shame is something that is naturally comes from it, and everybody feels it. So you're not a freak, you're not an outlier of the human race. Everyone feels this, regardless of where we're from.
You're human. If you feel it, you're human.
Exactly. But the idea is that, back to your point, we need to take ownership and responsibility. We need to be able to manage those moments, understand what our narrative, understand what the emotions are, to find, when we can, the vulnerability and the courage to address that identity, because at some point that identity is not working for us, or life is saying, you got to shift it. You got to shift it. This is no longer safe ground. And we need to find that time and find that momentum to do that. And so, Elaine, if people are in the midst of this, where they're coming into the game, they're somewhere in their 30s, 40s with young kids and aging parents, or they're closer to the ends of their career, how can they reach out to you for your professional services?
Well, obviously for the Norwegian listeners, there's a podcast called Karriereveiledning med Elaine. But I love when people add me to LinkedIn and kind of like tell me, listen to Jason's podcast, wanted to add you. That's one place. Send me an email, elaine@elainebloom.no. But I have been quite busy because after COVID as well, when COVID hit, I had like 400 mails to my inbox. One of the most important things that I can do, or I can tell people to do, is, and I also just want to say one thing for people in Norway. There's a free service called karriereveiledning.no, where you can chat or talk to the career counselors. And there's also free career counseling at all the offentlige karrieresentrene. So each kind of county has free career services. I want to say that as well, because as a service. One of the things, Jason, before we close this conversation, showing up for yourself kind of before you even contact me, or probably part of contacting me, maybe showing up for yourself is like, sometimes we feel we need to have a problem. Kind of, okay, I've lost my job, I need someone. But I've started a new series now called the Career Health Talk. Like, book a talk. Let's just be the in-between. We're not fixing. You're not between jobs. You're not kind of suffering to your core. You're not going after something wild. There was just this thing at work today with your colleague and you got upset, or you have to do this meeting and you just want to, get it all out before you go home. So I'm actually offering now, and it's different from the career guidance, where we have the different path. What shall we do? We have to sort out this, sort out that, your compass, your values. And obviously, I just think people find it difficult to contact professionals because they need to have a problem. The thing is, no, you just kind of need to have someone listen to you. And probably sometimes you have the ache. It's a learning process.
Well, I'll make sure to leave all your contact information in the show notes so people can just follow a link, and you're only a click away. But Elaine, thank you very much for spending so much time with us today. I understand your time is very valuable, but I think what's even more valuable is the thoughts and your experience and your advice and your suggestions, and obviously your personal experience that people can relate to some extent. And I think just to reemphasize that, career shame and career health is something that we all think about and we all can react to.
And I think putting it into words, because we always had a career health and everyone's felt career shame, but no one talked about it. So kind of verbalizing it and creating a framework makes us understand, oh, I'm not lost. This is what's going on. Okay. I'm okay. I can breathe. And that's kind of the whole mission, just the sailor, the breathe and take it from there, knowing where you choose from.
Well, thank you for an outstanding conversation today, Elaine.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you for having me.
As we wrap up this episode, Elaine sheds light on the deeper aspects of career health and resilience, urging us to examine how our professional lives align with our personal identities across all walks of life. She emphasizes that career health is not confined to our professional achievement, but extends to how we carry ourselves as individuals in various roles, be it as a parent, sibling, friend, or colleague. This holistic perspective challenges us to reflect on our behavior and attitudes in the workplace, our interactions with colleagues and superiors, and the image we want to present to our organization. Elaine advocates for clear communication of our intentions, expectations, and our situational awareness, highlighting the importance of taking ownership and responsibility in our own careers. Addressing career shame, she encourages us to embrace vulnerability, allowing ourselves the space to process emotions and to seek closure. And then we can move forward with a sense of control over what we can influence in our lives and in our careers. Career resilience, it's a multifaceted concept that embodies our ability to navigate the complexities of career health and to address career shame. It's about recognizing our emotional responses to work, understanding how these feelings reflect on our identity, and taking active steps towards personal growth and professional fulfillment. This resilience is crucial for adapting to change, overcoming obstacles, and thriving in our careers. And it serves as a testament to our capacity for self-awareness, adaptability, emotional intelligence in the face of challenges. Elaine, I'd like to send you my personal thank you and appreciation to have you on the show. I think it's such an important subject and an important topic that we don't always address. We address everything around it, but the actual subject. And thank you for investing your valuable time in this long-form discussion today. I very much appreciate it. Well, folks, that was the amazing, vivacious, and insightful Elaine Bloom. And for those of you who are interested in contacting Elaine, she is only a click away. You'll be able to find her email, her website, and all her social links in the show notes. And a thank you to you folks for showing up and listening to this conversation and showing up every week. If you know someone this can help, a colleague, a friend, a relative, please let them know and subscribe to It's an Inside Job. It helps me spread the word. But until next week, keep well, keep strong, and we'll speak soon.